Hello and welcome to our first installment of our podcast. Today we're going to be covering some very interesting topics, namely the newest Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens.
Just bear in mind there will be a lot of spoilers in this, so if you haven't seen this movie, what the heck are you doing for your life? Go watch the movie. Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert. Someone get a loud button. Does anyone have one of those things you press? Like that one. The following podcast contains spoilers.
If you're watching the video, there will be a picture of River Song saying spoilers right here. Just throwing it out there.
Just editing. You're making yourself have more work to do.
Spoilers.
Well, yes.
I keep forgetting there's a camera. I'm going to look at the We're not looking at the
We probably should be
Hello.
watching. If you're watching this, we have a computer down here. We're going to be looking at notes and stuff.
Yes.
If you're watching this, we apologize. We're bad at this. Let's figure it out.
It's our first podcast. Give us a break.
If you're watching this, please excuse us for being in this podcast. Now let's continue.
Okay. So, yeah, we're basically talking about Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Star Wars. There have been 6 previous episodes. They jumbled them all up for some reason.
If
This
you
is
haven't
the
watched
episode.
any of the previous 6 and you are going to watch episode 7, you're a terrible human being and you will not understand a thing.
Yeah, but you
Well,
can.
I mean, there's 5 previous ones. We're not sure about the first one.
That's true. We don't. No one knows.
That's true.
Yeah, there are an undeterminate number of Star Wars episodes.
I mean, even George Lucas isn't sure about the first
exactly.
one.
I heard that once.
All we know is Jar Jar sucks.
No one. Who's that? I don't even know. So yeah, no. Basically, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
I'm well as well.
Good. I'm Derek.
I'm Blake.
I think I'm Travis.
We didn't even
I
introduce
thought that was
ourselves.
I thought that was how we were gonna start, but I guess not. And that's fine.
Yeah, I just now realized we didn't even introduce ourselves. We're just chatting away.
No.
Well, I
Not
mean, they heard us now.
Exactly.
I'm Blake. I'm an Aries. I like long
no,
walks on the
that's not what we were doing.
Ladies, he's single.
Hey,
Oh,
I'm the
goodness.
only single one here.
This is the worst.
He's single. He's got a decent head of hair.
Maybe. But okay, so yeah, so what was your what do you think of the movie, just generally, in general terms?
I thought it was really good. I mean, there's so much to think about to say about it, which we will get into. But
Exactly.
overall, I think it was good.
Yeah, in general, I think it was definitely a good movie. I think it's a great Star Wars movie.
It's a Star Wars fan movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It's directed for the fans.
It's made by a fan. J.J. Abrams is a huge fan of Star Wars.
Exactly. And he also directed the previous Star Trek, which is kind of weird.
But both of them. But you
But
can
both
see,
of them were awesome.
But if you think about it, if you look at the way they were directed and the changes they made in the thing,
yeah.
it really is a level out of Star Wars. Just the way it is, the way the
no
ensemble
doubt.
comes
It
together.
was a Star Wars movie that was made for Star Wars fans by a Star Wars fan, and
It was only called Star Trek.
It blended together beautifully with the previous episodes. I absolutely loved it.
And what it did, which I think is kind of funny, if you look at any of marketing and anything, I was looking for it actually because I thought it was hilarious how in the lead up to the movie, it's like no one was mentioning that the prequels existed. I don't think that if you watched 4, 5, and 6 and then you watched this one, I don't think that there's anything that you wouldn't understand referenced. Like, was there anything from 1, 2, and 3 that they mentioned that they talked about?
No, and I'm very glad
None
that
like-
Jar Jar was not in
Yeah,
it
no,
at
exactly.
all.
There's no Gungans
Well,
or anything.
I
Even
heard-
even the planets. Like I was expecting like that. Spoiler alert. That big shot when they blow up like 12 planets.
Coruscant included.
Was it-
Spoiler
They
alert.
they didn't say it was Coruscant. Did
Yeah,
they?
exactly.
They
That's
never
what
just said the name.
I thought
That's
they were gonna
true.
say like this is Naboo and they're blowing it up, or this is Coruscant, but they never mentioned any of those.
They mentioned the
planets.
entire
true.
system, though.
They mentioned the
because
system, and
I don't know if that's.
if we dug a bit
Coruscant.
deeper, we would find out which planets are in that system, but that is for a different podcast.
But if you
on a
looked at
different
the
day.
actual design of the buildings and everything, and the design of the planet in general,
That's true.
it looked like Coruscant.
It did.
It looked a
It
lot
did
like
quite.
it, so it's kind of like a reference in that way, but they never actually said any names that were from the original.
They
not the
did
original.
reference the Republic, though, and how it
That's true.
rose
The
back.
Republic was never really mentioned.
The Republic wasn't mentioned in 4, 5, or 6, the original trilogy. But in the prequels, the Republic was the driving force in that.
That's true. So
Well,
yeah, that would be. The
They
one
did
thing.
mention the Republic a little bit. I think when they talked about the Clone Wars in Episode 4.
Yeah.
The
That's
only
true.
one of the only references I can think of is in the original trilogy, they never actually used the word Sith.
Ah.
And they
That's
mentioned Maz, I can't remember what her full name was.
Maz.
But she said first she's seen the Sith, and then it turned into the Empire, and then that was the first order, the Order of Evil.
Okay,
Maz,
so she
yeah.
did make reference to
Her
it.
name is Maz Kanata, by the way.
Maz
That's why I
Kanata,
wrote
okay.
things down. I'm more prepared than
Awesome.
everyone else.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's a good. So why don't we talk really quickly about what you think the best part of the movie was for you, in terms of like just when you were watching it, what you had like the most reaction to.
I would love to hear your opinion first and foremost.
Yeah. Honestly, I kept thinking about it today, and the only thing that kept sticking in my mind was in the first 5 minutes of the movie because it was the weirdest thing and I'd never seen before, and I hadn't expected it. And it's just when Kylo Ren is sitting there in the that planet, and
Jakku.
Jakku. That's right.
Jakku.
We can't go back to Jakku.
Exactly. Apparently, it's a terrible place.
But it's awesome on Star Wars Battlefront, the game. Just saying.
And basically, then he's just standing there, and then they shoot the blaster at him, and he holds up his hand and stops the blaster, and you just see it like sitting there shimmering, and like it looks really cool. It's a really cool looking
effect. That was a very well
and it's
done
also
scene.
like, I was thinking for a minute, I'm like, wait, can you do that? Is that really happening? It was just frozen.
Well, we can't.
Yeah, no.
Well, we can't.
But I mean, like in the Star Wars universe, it's never been done before. Really.
Now, interesting question. Do you think Anakin Skywalker could do that?
I mean, it possibly, because I mean, wasn't there a point in one of the episodes? And again, I don't even know for sure, but I think someone once like held their hand out to kind of block one, but it kind of like bounced off, right?
Darth Vader, when Han Solo was shooting in episode 5 in Cloud City, he just like absorbed.
He like held his hand out and it kind of like bounced off to the right.
Well,
I'm not sure if it bounced or if it absorbed.
Yeah, either
he
way.
He does have a metal hand.
But still, it didn't have damage to it. So he absorbed it with the
He
Force.
definitely did force some sort of force thing. But no one has ever just stopped a laser in its track, and the effect of it was really cool, and it also was like terrifying. Like if you look at anyone in the crowd, or like if you look at Poe and you're sitting there, his eyes like light up, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, this is terrifying."
But then you realize also that Kylo Ren is then just going out and leaning down, talking to him, while he's still maintaining it with the Force out in the air, not even near him.
I mean, it's really one of the best introductions of a character, I think, for Star Wars that they had before, which is why I love it. Because also, then you get to hear him talk, and I was afraid, because you obviously, in any of the commercials, marketing, they were very quiet about anything to do with the movie, especially what does he sound like when he talks.
I was delightfully pleased with his voice, especially.
I was worried that they were going to have it sound too similar to Darth Vader in some way, but they didn't. It was sort of just like a weird, like...
It was more distortion.
It was a mechanical distortion.
Yeah, it's like a weird, like, auto-tune.
As opposed to...
Nah.
I am your father. It was more...
No, that's not true. That's impossible.
Wait, no, I just messed up that line. He never said Luke in that line. He just said, "No, I am your father."
That's
never
right,
said Luke.
That's
and
right,
everybody
It's
quotes
just a
it that
common
way.
trope. It's Luke, I am your father.
Misquoted.
Moving on to your favorite parts of the film.
Exactly.
Go.
I don't know if I have one favorite part. I mean, I think the ending may be like my ultimate favorite, just seeing Luke turn around there.
Continue.
But,
Continue. I'll get into
Okay,
that.
yeah, me too.
But I think another thing I love was the scene when all of the X-Wings just are coming over the water
Yes. Okay.
and just coming in to like save the day from the First Order.
That was during the raid on Maz.
Yeah.
That was an exceptional scene. I absolutely loved it because it seems like at the turning point of the battle where there's absolutely no hope, and you just see the water rippling, and you just see black dots turning into black X's, and the black X's multiply, and then there's a ton of them just coming towards the First Order, and I was like, yes.
And then they're like, it's the Resistance, and then you just see
explosions.
I have to say, like, whenever I talk to anyone about this movie, one character that doesn't get referenced as much that I think is an amazing character, Poe Dameron.
Poe Dameron is my
Poe Dameron
absolute
is
favorite.
great.
He is the new Han Solo.
I think he's actually my favorite character in this movie, and the thing that I'm just saying is I wish so much that he was in more of the movie.
Yeah.
He's in the beginning of the movie, and then you think that he's dead for a long time, and then he shows back up here, and then he shows back up at the end again. But there's a big chunk of the movie that he's not in, and I feel like he could have been in more.
It's kind of like Luke's. There was one pilot all throughout episodes 4, 5, and 6 that
Wedge.
showed up. Wedge
yeah,
Antilles.
Wedge is pretty cool. But yeah, the interesting thing about that is I actually found out recently. J.J. Abrams basically, when he was casting that role, when he wrote it, it was originally only supposed to be at the beginning of the movie.
Really?
The entire thing was he, as written, and then the X-wing crashes, and then he's dead, and then Poe Dameron is gone for the rest of the movie, and he's just dead. Is it a TIE Fighter?
TIE Fighter.
That's right. They stole a TIE Fighter. Sorry. But basically, what happened was Oscar Isaac, who plays him and does an amazing job, basically, when he talked to JJ about it, he was so excited, and then JJ said, "Oh yeah," and then he dies at the beginning of the movie.
That's so sad.
Then Oscar Isaac was like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. That sounds like not a good idea. Can't we like expand it?" And JJ wasn't sure, but basically, a few weeks later, he called him back and just said, "Yeah, I'm willing to give you a bigger role in the movie."
Oh my
Like
god!
because he convinced him to do it, and then he realized, oh, this is a great character after he saw Oscar Isaac play him through the beginning of the filming.
I have to interject.
Yeah.
The original Boba Fett, Max von Sydow.
That was not the original Boba Fett.
It wasn't? Who
No,
was it?
It was...
Because that was him in the beginning scene.
Yeah, he was never in Star Wars, but that wasn't the original Boba Fett. I can't remember the guy's name, but...
That is awesome now.
But That guy hasn't been in Star Wars before.
Oh, now I remember what I read. I read a bunch of people saying that he should play Boba Fett in the newest Star Wars, and they saw him cast, but no, he plays Lor Santeca.
That was the old guy in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah,
Who's like
and
that
I
for-
swear I've seen him in a previous movie. I swear by it.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I mean, it
Because-
seems like he knew.
He knew Leia as royalty. He said that she is.
I think it's
you
just
know?
because she was. I think she was really old.
She was-
No, he was old. Yeah.
Oh, she's old too.
That's true. Everyone's
They're
old.
all old.
They're all really old. Speaking of people who are old, never mind. We'll get to that later. Like,
Jumping
what is
in-
your favorite part?
Jumping into my favorite part. Honestly, it is really hard to pick a favorite part, as Travis was saying, because so much of the movie was so masterfully done. Spoiler alert, my personal favorite scene is when Han walks out towards Kylo, and he pauses, and you just hear him go, "Ben!" Silence. Throughout the entire area, the stormtroopers are like, they just kind of pause and look. Chewbacca pauses and looks, you know. Finn and Rey, they pause and look, and it's just a beautiful scene. And as he's walking out and he says, "I want to see the face of my son," or something to that degree, the door opens and the light's shining down on him. That was beautiful.
I see. That's the thing I love because it's like Star Wars has always been about family relations between the Skywalkers and everything. And granted, well, Kylo Ren is a Skywalker. He
Yeah.
may go by a different name now, but
Or
he's
Solo.
still part of the Skywalker line.
Yeah.
He's a
Because
cousin.
Leia. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just the family dynamic between father and son has always played a huge part.
Yeah, and it just, that entire scene, even though, you know, one of my favorite characters ended up like Darth Maul, you know, going,
Just down the shaft.
just aimlessly down. Honestly, that one scene
He's
was
dead,
my
Jim.
favorite. Yeah, I know. It was my favorite, but I really wish what they did to make that scene even better is slow it down when he takes the saber out. Instead of just, and he's
Yeah.
gone, just slow
Yeah.
fall.
But it saw the hand go up, and
Yeah,
that was
I mean,
that-
obviously the best part of the scene is obviously when he's sitting there and he's still, the way he looks at him as if
Yeah.
to say, like, I'm not angry at you, I understand. I was trying to save you, but I realize now I can't save you.
And if
then
you're
he
watching
falls.
this, I'm going to confess, I almost cried. I teared
was-
up
it was really
at
good.
that scene because I grew
I
up
think we
with
all
Han
did.
Solo as my idol.
I think we all did.
So yeah, so
I know-
I think that everyone I talked to has said the same thing. That basically, when you saw Han Solo step out onto that beam, it was really tough to see him making it out alive. Like pretty much everyone was saying, I think that Han Solo is going to die here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt when I saw him step out of the beam. I feel like, okay, I think Han Solo is going to die here.
I was
But it
afraid they were going
still-
to pull a Disney and he was going to be like, "I love you, Dad."
yeah, no, that would have been terrible, right? So I guess it's good that he died because otherwise that scene would have probably been bad. Or like, you know, like how the scene at the end when the ground just splits in half
Yeah,
randomly
that
for
was like
no
a-
reason.
well,
was-
the
Well, I mean,
planet
the
falling
planet was
apart,
blowing
That's
up.
true. It was
but
cool.
it's a common like trope
Yeah,
that I feel like
exactly.
didn't need to happen there.
Yeah, because it was
Yeah.
like they could have had a different reason for them to run away. It was just kind of like a bit of a huge metaphor of them being like, well, we can't have the two main characters kill each other now. We have to split them up somehow because we have 2 more movies to go. The only problem with me for that scene, which I love that scene, and I think it was one of the best, the only thing that I think would have made it better is a little bit of a slower... if we had more of a reason to feel a lot more for Kylo Ren, which the problem is I think we're going to get that in later movies, but I wish that we had done that
I think we're going to get
earlier.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're going to get it
But I
in the
think
next
that
film
scene
towards
would
the
have
end.
been really, really interesting if we had seen, you know, the betrayal. If we had seen Kylo Ren with Luke Skywalker in that flashback sequence
But-
somewhere.
No doubt.
I
and
don't
I
think-
have speculations about that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Which
don't-
I'm not going to cut you
okay.
off. Continue.
I don't think I need to see him like with a flashback because I feel for Kylo Ren just because seeing Luke or not Luke, Han and Leia talking and saying our son and everything.
He felt betrayed because they sent him off to go learn to be good, but he's torn between the 2 grandfathers he had, Anakin and Vader. Same person, but 2 different people altogether.
Yeah.
He had the light side and the dark side, tearing him apart internally. So when they sent him to go be with Luke to train to be a Jedi, he felt like they were saying, "You cannot be like your grandfather Vader." And that hurt him internally. And all throughout the film, you see him internally just trying to tear himself from the light side to be a dark lord.
I think he's just like it was like this trailer that I saw ahead of the or not trailer, just a commercial. Or ahead of the theater, it was like texting back and forth, like choose the light side or the dark side,
I loved that one.
and it's like, and the guy was like researching like, okay, light side's got this, the dark side is all this.
Yeah.
It's like he wants all that power. I think he just feels pressure because he doesn't feel like he's as good as Darth Vader. like he wants to be as powerful as him, but
Oh yeah, and Ray made reference to that when she mocked him during the interrogation. You're afraid you'll never be like Darth Vader. And he just went on a little tantrum.
I think, yeah, no, and that leads to one of my other favorite scenes, is why I do love Kylo Ren. I think he's a great villain for this movie, for sure, for a lot of different reasons, especially the moment when he just takes off the mask and you finally get to see him, which obviously helps in the later scene to make him more human. But one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie is still after he gets shot by Chewbacca and they go out and they have a lightsaber duel with Rey, which is actually a really good
I loved when
duel.
Chewbacca shot him.
But the entire time during the lightsaber duel, he's sitting there like pounding against his chest at the wound at Chewbacca, and blood is spilling out. And I'm just like, it just shows the intensity and the anger that he has.
he's trying to draw in the pain.
Exactly,
And like
that's
feel the
his-
dark side.
Yeah, which is, and again, it's very. I love the way JJ did that because he didn't ever tell us that. He just showed, like, if you were watching and you were listening, you understood that's why he was doing that. They never actually had him turn to the camera or turn to anyone and say, well, the reason I do this is because I need to. It's like, no, it was really well done in that it just happened, and then you can infer, like, oh, that is the reason.
10 out of 10, I will say Adam Driver did a phenomenal job as
Oh,
Kylo.
absolutely.
Absolutely. The dude has such emotion. He's
was
a
really good.
brilliant actor. He can pour raw emotion into a character, which you saw when he's throwing a tantrum and cutting things up, or when you just hear him yelling in the interrogation room when she escaped.
Yeah.
And even that scene when he's pounding, he's
Yeah.
literally hitting himself. He's not
Exactly.
just holding his blows back. You can hear it hitting him.
Yeah. That was like really intense to watch that scene.
That's how much he's like his grandfather Anakin. Because look at Anakin in the prequels, how he was a kid and he just
He got with a
Yeah,
you know,
he's a
queen.
kid who couldn't control his emotions, is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the problem
He
with Anakin
hated
in
the
the prequels.
restrictions
Yeah.
of the light side.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, that's some of the stuff that I think that was the best about the prequels, was when Anakin was doing things and talking to Obi-Wan and saying, but this is the right thing to do. We need to do this. And Obi-Wan would just say, but that's not the Jedi way. We can't do that because we're Jedi. We have to be good always.
which is what drove the Palpatine and be like, is it possible to learn this power that the Jedi won't teach you?
Yeah, which is why, again, I think my favorite scene in the prequel trilogy is maybe when he asked, is it possible to bring someone from the dead, kind of. And Palpatine basically is like, we have that power.
But not from the
To-
Jedi.
Yeah, exactly. We have the power to save people, to be better than them. But
Not
they just
from the
refuse to
Jedi.
use it because they're afraid of it. And I think that's a really interesting thing, is that basically Yoda and everyone else keeps saying that fear leads to the dark side. And Palpatine is saying pretty much correctly, they're afraid of us. They're afraid of the power that we have, and they're afraid to use that power.
But at the same time, it's like the Jedi always said, like, just let them go and stuff. But Vader, like, his love for his son and the relationship with his son at the end of episode 6 is what brought him back to the light side.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, so here's a question for you guys that I hadn't thought about before until just now, actually. Do you think that Kylo Ren will have a similar
Yep.
fate? Do you think that he will
Absolutely.
turn back in the future movie?
Absolutely. I was speculating about that earlier. I think what's going to end up happening, they're going to go up against Snoke, who I personally believe is Plagueis.
No, he's not Plagueis.
I'm just saying he's either Plagueis or somebody similar. And he and Rey are going to be, fighting in a scene like that with him sitting there, Snoke, and then she's going to say, I'm not going to kill you because, you're Leia's son. So he's going to just be like, well, what do I do now? Whoever Snoke really is going to lash out at Rey, and Kylo Ren is going to step in and try to stop it, fulfilling his fate as...
I feel like something interesting like that could definitely happen, but
I
I wonder
don't-
if they're going to take a twist on what they've already done, because again, that's the plot of Jedi, which they've already done a lot of
And
stuff like this.
they've
that's
already
similar.
done. This is so much like a New
Yeah,
Hope. I don't
exactly.
think they're gonna follow completely.
Yeah, so I
Oh, I
wonder
hope
what they're
not.
so they're gonna twist some things, of course, which they did in this movie. They did a little bit of twisting on a lot of the same stuff we've already seen.
Agreed.
See, here's what I would love to see in the next movie. Since Kylo Ren's going back to Snoke to get more training, and Rey obviously met up with Luke to get training too.
Do you want to see like a Rocky Jedi training montage where they have to
Like-
like drink
Poe
raw
looks like
eggs
Rocky.
and like run upstairs?
No. Well,
Punches
kind,
meats.
I would love to
well,
see
well,
that.
kind of. I want to see them bounce back and forth, but like between both of them training.
Yeah, that would actually be really
And
cool.
here's what I think would be
I
a
would like
Sith
that.
training, because he wants them to focus on pain stuff. I imagine Sith training be like Kylo Ren shows up. and Snoke will lift up the Force, throw him against the wall, and shoot lightning at him to try to like get him to fight back. And
I imagine something like that, and I also imagine him trying to do like, especially emotionally, because you saw him doing that already. He said, "No, you have to kill your father because you're too emotionally attached. It's going to draw you back to the light side. You have to kill him," and that's why he did. But I think Snoke might even say, "You're too attached still to your mother and to that side of the thing. You need to be emotionally completely on the dark side," which he's not quite yet, I don't think.
no, who do you think Rey is?
That's an interesting theory that I honestly don't have a lot of theories about it.
She's another Anakin.
No,
She was born of the Force.
I
No,
think
I
that
don't
might
think
be.
so.
I wrote 3 pages the other day just on my computer in Word, just typing this out about a theory I have that she was either abandoned at birth, which is obviously a very likely situation. Even Han Solo was abandoned by his parents. Luke could tell she had a ton of midichlorians. So she took her in to, be around her and the other Jedi that he was training. When the assault happened, when Rey and when Ren
Confusing.
and the Knights of Ren came and slaughtered all the other Jedi, I think she was there. Now let me explain.
Yeah, I think so.
The
too.
flashback scene when she grabs the lightsaber, those, I believe, were her suppressed memories
Yeah, it
that
seemed
she didn't remember.
because most of the memories that were there were with herself already. So I think
Exactly.
that all of them are. I think they're all her memories.
She saw herself. First, she saw, Luke with the hand on R2-D2. He was likely grieving after all that happened. Like maybe he went somewhere and came back and they were all dead.
Yeah.
You saw her standing amongst a bunch of dead, what appear to be Jedi,
Yeah.
with Ren and the Knights of Ren standing there. What I think happened, because in the next scene you see her on Jakku with the people leaving,
Yeah.
Ren took her with the Knights of Ren, left her at Jakku, where she would just,
Be a normal
exist,
person.
but he had mercy because he's still being torn by the light and dark
Yeah.
side.
I think that's true. That
And
seems like a
he
lot.
couldn't come to bear to kill an innocent child who has the Force.
Well, how old would he have been too? Because if she was that young compared to her age now,
That's true.
In
Because
my best guess, if you're looking at Rey and Ren the actor, Adam Driver, he is, I believe, 32. I want to say he's 32, and then Rey herself is only in her really early 20s. So
about
there's
10-year difference.
there's close to a 10-year difference there. So
She's maybe
considering
like 5,
maybe she
4,
was considering
when-
she was maybe 2 or 3. Let's say 2 or 3. Give it a best guess
Yeah.
scenario.
Okay.
That would make him about 13-ish, maybe 14 at
which
the most.
sounds a lot like a rebellious young kid that they were sending off to try to train.
Exactly, and I know
Yeah,
that's
with
pretty
Luke.
far fetched, but we
But I
know
think
that
there's something
actors,
similar to
regardless
that.
of their age,
Yeah.
can play characters way older or way younger.
Yeah, and I do
See-
think that it's something similar to that because they obviously stressing that that Rey has a lot of importance to the story, and I think that it seems likely that it's because she's so strong in the Force that Luke would have somehow sensed that
Oh, and Ren
taken
knows
her
her.
from a young age.
And
Because-
Ren knows her completely.
Yeah, he's
They
like,
were
oh, the
accompanied
girl
by
I've
a
heard so
girl.
much about. But
Yeah.
it's not like he said, oh, it's you again. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't think he actually met her. Here's what I think.
Yeah.
She was either, A, Luke's daughter, or something, just because of the,
I don't see Luke getting it on though.
well, he is Anakin's son. He is Anakin's son, but the point is that just how strong she is in the Force, I think she has to have some Skywalker in her somewhere.
That seems
Or-
like a good plan. They like to do. I mean, when the people are writing these, it seems like in this series, people like the family relationships, like you said.
Yeah.
So it seems like, and that's what that was my first thought. As soon as someone said that she was important, I think that it's somehow family related. But it doesn't have to be. It could just be like another thing, like Anakin, where she's the chosen one of something
That's
for some
true.
reason.
That's true.
And I think that when that attack happened, either Luke hid her away, whether she's Luke's daughter or not, or just be a really strong Jedi. He
could
hid
have
her
left
away,
at
and he's the
Jakku.
one that left her there.
Yeah, I think that seems possible, especially like
Like
I
he
mean-
like he was left when on Tatooine.
exactly. I mean, you can't exactly. So that was probably him thinking like, okay, I need to get something bad is happening.
The only thing
like
with me
before
there-
with Order 66, I need to get her safe. And I also was thinking like, it's obviously just a small clue, but I feel like when you look at that final scene of Luke turning around and seeing her, I feel like he was. It seemed like he was waiting.
That was one
Like
of
he
my
knew
biggest
that she was coming,
disappointments.
probably because he could sense it because she's so
Yeah.
strong in the Force. And the look on his face was almost as if he didn't want her there. Like that was the only thing that I could infer from his look. It definitely wasn't like, oh, finally someone's come to get me back. It was like an almost like a little bit sad and angry of like, you probably shouldn't have come here. I don't want. He obviously doesn't want to go back. Otherwise, he would have gone back
Agreed.
himself.
Agreed.
Well, here's the thing. I think he's probably afraid that if he trains someone else, they'll turn the dark side too.
Yeah, exactly.
Or because when she was fighting, when she used the Force at the end, did she seem a little like angry? Like she was almost like tapping in the dark side when she was fighting Kylo.
Yeah.
Kind of like when Luke cut off his dad's hand. Ooh.
Yeah, like that. Like
Exactly.
Luke's afraid. Like maybe he sensed a little bit of darkness in her, kind of like the Jedi sensed that in Anakin. And I mean, she seems like a really good person, but maybe she has some darkness in her that he's trying to keep from.
Yeah. It's
With that said, not to interject here, we're at 25 minutes. I think it'd be important of us to move on to the next 2 points that we have set up, and that would be where we felt the film could have been better. Like, where did we feel it was personally lacking? And I know for me, it was, well, it wasn't lacking when, spoiler alert, Han Solo got killed. That was a beautifully done scene. I was really disappointed. But where I think it was most lacking was the ending. Because we're anticipating Luke all throughout, and then the last scene, all we see is...
But that's all he really needed. It's like, he didn't have to...
I would have liked a word. Or maybe
didn't need to say
he just takes the saber, like, force grab it or
I
something.
was expecting that to happen, and I'm okay that it didn't. The only thing that I would say on that point is just it's which is what everyone has said so far in interviews that has anything to do with the movie, is that they're trying to build the whole thing slowly. And I guess I'm okay with that, but again, it just feels like this movie itself, you can't watch this as one movie and think that that's okay.
Yes.
You obviously need to have 2 or 3, you need the other movies for it to be a complete story,
Yeah,
and we don't have
I
that
can see
yet.
that.
So it's like you can't even, it's really difficult to judge because it's like, well, they're saving Luke for the second movie, and they're saving the whole Rey thing for probably the third movie. They're saving more of Poe for later movies.
I think Poe's going to be more of a moderate character than...
I would hope that he was being in more.
I would
I
hope-
really
At
would.
least they didn't pull a Darth Maul on him.
I hope
That's true.
he
They
gets...
almost did.
I
It was
hope he
close.
gets the Millennium Falcon.
That would be so great, actually. I mean, look, obviously Chew's getting it though.
But imagine...
But he's the co-pilot. He
Oh,
has to have someone
that's
else.
another
so
thing.
I guess Ray is.
Rey
It seems
is
like
the
Ray
co-pilot.
is now.
I
flying it.
remember that. That's something that I felt just... It messed with my head when she just takes off in the Millennium Falcon and go find Luke. I understand that. The woman's husband just died. You were there, and you're taking the last thing and her best friend away from her. So now she's completely
No,
alone
to
and
be-
self-sobbing.
To be fair, we don't know how much time had passed between
That's
those
true.
two
It could have been
scenes.
time.
And
That's true.
like Leia said earlier in the movie, we fell back into what we know how to do. She went back to leading people.
And now
Yeah.
she's never going
I
to
mean,
get it back.
exactly. It's like it's so depressing because they obviously haven't seen each other for a very long time, and then they come back and they're finally just feeling like maybe we can make this work again. And then of course, and then he's dead.
But if you really think about what happened, where we're at the end of this movie, the Republic's gone. So it's pretty much just like the end of Episode 6. Yeah, the First Order took a huge blow, and but the Republic's gone, and it still has to be rebuilt again.
Yeah, that's true.
It's interesting to see what they're going to do from now on because, like you said, obviously there's no doubt that they have bigger plans. The First Order. They obviously have I mean, I'm assuming that they have like a base that's even more prominent than this one. This was not even their base. I think this was just their weapon. That they obviously, it was like, I think it seemed like it was plan A, but I feel like they have a plan B. Snoke wasn't even there himself.
We don't know where he is.
He was sitting off somewhere. And again, okay, so I'll use the question that I've been asking everyone that I talk to after I see the movie. Probably the first thing I ask them is, do you think that Snoke is actually like a giant, what are you doing there? Do you think that Snoke is actually a giant creature, or is he just a regular-sized man?
He's not going to be a giant creature.
Yeah, I think so too. But I was
think-
confused for a minute.
I think he's going to be some form of alien, possibly.
Yeah, he doesn't
Yes,
look like
he's
a
not
human.
human.
He doesn't look human. He looks more alien than that.
Yeah, and the other thing that I say is Andy Serkis is such a great actor. I just want someone for once to let him play an actual person. So that he can just be a
Avengers. He gets to be
he's
a
in
person.
He was in Avengers. It was cool. He was in about 2 minutes of
The
Avengers.
Black Panther movie, he will probably
Yeah,
have
exactly.
the...
But I don't know why he had to be a weird creature man with mocap. He could have just been Andy Serkis. That would have been threatening and cool.
You know what I
like
really
Palpatine
think?
was-
I think they just used.
had like some makeup on.
I
and
think
he
they
was
just
good.
used his voice,
I mean,
and
yeah.
then that was just all CGI.
No, yeah, he had mocap stuff that you can see.
That
he
was
did
actually,
Oh, thank
that
God.
was all
But I mean,
CGI.
I guess his
Thank
mocap
God.
was him sitting in a chair though and moving his head. It wasn't a lot of like actually motion that they were.
But he was in
capturing.
Star Wars.
So it was mostly
Okay,
facial
but
capture.
I want to talk about the production values later, but I'm going to say what I think could have been better.
Okay.
Leia, I love they had her back, but she seems so tame compared to how she was in the...
Well, she's been smoking, put on weight. I'm sorry.
It's just inferring from. I guess you're talking about Carrie Fisher, but still,
Carrie
we
Fisher.
couldn't.
Yes.
To the
No, I mean personality-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford fell right back into the role. He was the classic Han we knew and loved.
Oh, okay, yeah. So if we're talking about actors really quick, Harrison Ford was absolutely amazing, and I was not expecting him to be in the movie that much. And when he was, I was expecting it to be like good, but not that good. He was like actually, it felt like
he
Han
was the
Solo.
old Han. Yeah.
He was really, really good.
And that's my problem with
'cause
Carrie
I've seen-
Fisher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But like I've seen Harrison Ford act recently in other things, and it's been like pretty good. But like he just didn't feel like sometimes he didn't feel like he was into it. And even when I see him in interviews talking about Star Wars, he always seemed like kind of the grumpy old man kind of thing. I didn't think he was going to be in a ton of this movie.
He's kind of moved on.
Yeah,
Which
but
I think is why they killed him.
Exactly, but I also love that he was actually willing to do this last one for the fans and actually be in the majority of the movie.
Sorry,
Because
I kept cutting you off. Continue.
in with Harrison Ford, after episode 5 when he was frozen in carbonite, he didn't want to be in episode 6. He wanted them to kill him off. He wanted to move on to other roles, but they convinced him to stand for one more movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why he was willing to get killed off. Plus, the mentor always gets killed off in the first movie.
That's true. It's kind of that same scene where they're watching from across the room and they can't do anything about it, and so they just yell.
It was Obi-Wan's death and Qui-Gon's death.
It's combined, yeah. It's exactly. There's one moment in each of the first movies that is just the mentor watching, getting killed, and actually being. I can't even. Oh wow! I didn't even realize this until now. The mentor is being killed while the person is watching. It's early, kind of early in their relationship usually, and also the mentor has some sort of thing from the Force, basically just understanding they're going to die and accepting it. All three of them, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and
Harrison Ford wasn't a Jedi, but
yeah, but he understood. He
Guys.
looked at him and he knew he was going to die.
Guys, I know how we can figure out who Rey is. I know, okay?
What?
Bear with me, viewers. We'll use the Force.
the
That's not
Force
how the
doesn't
Force
work like
works.
that.
It's not how the Force.
The
I also
Force
do.
doesn't work like that.
So okay, so yeah, so let's really quickly talk
I
since we're on
love
that part.
that. I
There's
love
some
that.
there's some decent comedic moments in this movie. I
So
feel
who talks
like
first? You talk
more-
first, I talk first?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
That's which is why it's a great opening to the
great.
movie.
I loved it.
I feel like that's where it can shine sometimes in certain places a kind of above the original trilogy, not as a movie, but just in terms of like the comedic moments, because it's a more modern film. That's what they like to do. In
It
any,
was-
any
it
action
had some
movie nowadays,
hilarious
they have to have
parts.
some comedy in it, and I think these comedy in this movie was actually really.
Let's do our favorite
good.
funny scene. Let's do our personal favorite.
Yeah,
You start.
I think the best one was. I mean, I think most people might agree, but it just most of the things with BB-8, like the thumbs up thing, was really good.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then when he like just shocks him like out of nowhere, and he's like, "Stop doing that! I'm with the resistance."
that is pretty true.
So I think that might be just BB-8 stuff, mostly antics.
And yours would be.
Honestly, I'm thinking of the thing where Finn was like, "I'm in charge now, Phasma. I'm in charge," and Han Solo's
I'm in
like,
charge now, Phasma.
and Han's like, "Hey, just tone down, kid. Tone down."
Exactly. Just like, you're fine. Calm
Within
down.
that same 10-minute period, I also liked where he was like, you got a trash compactor?
Oh yes,
Like,
I
are we
love
garbage
that.
shit?
It's a good. It's
And,
a good
and he
reference.
just smiles like, we do.
It's like, oh, you can throw him in the
But
crash
no,
compactor.
my personal favorite is when Kylo Ren is throwing his tantrum in the interrogation room. You just
And
see
the
parts
stormtroopers.
exploding out.
Oh, they stop.
Oh, they
And
just
then
turn.
they just like he's like, and he puts his hand out for the other one, and they just kind of like turn around and walk away, like, well, we're gonna go this way now.
Like, I just love how the troopers had more of an involvement
because
in
they
it
were
too.
actual people instead of clones this time.
Yeah,
which I
Well,
think-
they were
like-
clones in the original.
yeah, but
trilogy.
they were like definitely soldiers, and they weren't.
And they made a reference to clones as well,
Yeah,
which
okay,
I
that's
love.
true.
Maybe
I forgot.
maybe they should use clones instead of people
That was
trained
the
from
other. That was the other
That was
reference
the-
that they
yeah,
made to
that's
the
true.
prequels. Is they talked about clones, which is cool.
birth. Okay, another funny moment. Ray disarms, gets used the Force to the guy, and it's like, and I'll drop my blaster.
He just sounded so disappointed in himself, like he was aware he was being tricked. He was like, "And I'll drop my blaster."
Yeah, and I like that he. When Han Solo borrows Chewie's gun the whole time, and it's just like I like it.
this.
It's like, why haven't I been using this the whole time? You got the good gun.
I think
Like,
that
it's
gun's
really-
really heavy. That's why the Wookiee uses it.
Exactly.
Let the Wookiee
Yeah, they made. I love that reference too. And he turns on the chessboard and he finds the target drone, like all the little things on the ship that are just been sitting there.
There were so many just
Yeah,
like little
yeah, that,
Easter
that
eggs.
little droid thing that they used, Luke was using training. It's like,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just-
He's just like, I don't want this thing. That's your ball. What does it do?
And then I was the only one in the theater who literally in my seat yelled "Yes!" when I saw that because I was
Yeah.
like,
It was
they
really-
included something from the originals, and it
exactly.
made me so happy. And,
And
then the
then-
guy next to me was like, "What are you doing?" I said, You didn't see the training probe? He was like, the what? I
Yeah.
said, the little ball with little things on it that shoots lasers
shoots
from
light.
episode 4. He was like, dude, this is my first Star Wars movie. I was like,
No!
that was the premiere.
Oh, my
I was
God.
like,
Yeah, no,
why?
see, I think that this is a decent movie if you want to watch Star Wars for the first time. I think you kind of understand most of the things that are going on as
Yeah.
much as you would, because there's stuff that I don't understand about this movie because they obviously don't want you to understand yet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But there's plenty of stuff where it's like, I'm glad they didn't do the thing that they do in most sequel movies now that they haven't done forever. Is they try to like say, oh yeah, this happened and this happened and this
Oh
happened.
yeah, there was not a lot of explanation, which is nice. And they had the references that they had were mostly just funny and good. They weren't anything like you needed to remind people of things. They were just kinda
Akbar.
good. Oh yeah, they had the little thing that I'm like, I wanted him to say it's a trap, but I knew he wouldn't, so I was just waiting. I was just gonna sit there and watch it happen.
Let's move on to the next thing.
Indeed.
The most emotional part of the movie for us. And I think we can all concur
Yeah, I
with
don't
what
think
it
there's
would
any.
be.
I don't think there's any argument because it's one of the few, like really emotionally charged scenes
The
in the whole movie.
heart-wrenching ones.
Yeah. I don't know that. Is there anything else? Like, do you have a second one or anything else you can think of that was really like emotionally? I mean, I guess like I said, we talked about already about like the happy emotions and like the moment when they're going over the water in the X-wings and some of that stuff.
There
in
were,
terms
but
of,
I think
like,
we should
raw
all just-
I think another emotional one I had was just when Han and Chewie walk on the Falcon. It's
yeah.
like, Chewie, we're home.
Yeah,
The entire theater when I went.
loved it.
I went on Thursday night, 7 o'clock.
And
first
everyone just
showing.
started cheering.
yeah. I think everyone started
Everyone was
cheering everywhere in
applauding,
America.
cheering
at once.
everywhere. Yeah.
But I think that the reason, which I think it was so cool that still felt good because obviously everyone who's seen the trailer, which is most people, knew that line was happening and that was going to happen at some point. But I was not expecting that to happen at that point. Like when that like weird ship came up and like dragged them in,
Yeah.
I did not think that was going to be Han and Chewie. I thought it was the First Order or anyone else. Like smugglers, I had no idea that it was going to be them. And the door just
reminds
opened
me
and I was
when
like,
they were
oh
trying to leave Jakku, and they're like, "What about that thing?
Oh,
that
it's
piece of junk?
my- yeah, exactly.
We'll take the garbage." And they run, and the camera's just like, "Boom! There it is."
Yeah, and then there's more applause. It's-
What a piece of junk.
yeah, exactly.
I loved it.
I-
though.
It's like,
also
didn't this thing
love-
make the Kessel run in like
14
14 parsecs? It's like,
12.
Yeah, it was
14.
It was really good. I love the relationship that Ray and Han developed really quickly. Like he was immediately
That was
respectful. Like he was like, "Oh, you know how to fly my ship? All right, cool.
It was like-
Me and you are good, and you get along with Chewie. Awesome."
it was
So
like,
it's
oh, you think he's a father you never had? He'll disappoint you. Trust me.
yeah, exactly. But I
That
just
was
loved
good.
the moments that they had in the ship together, where they would both just be like, "And then can use this to fix the hyperdrive," and they were both like, "Yes, this is so good."
Both of you look at the camera, and here we go. Spoiler alert: the most emotional scene, according to everybody else that I've ever talked to, including these two, was the moment Han Solo tried to save his son, Ben Solo.
It was really sad. It was.
really
Why are we
was.
saying spoiler at this point? We've been
Yeah, it's
talking
true.
about
We've
this for
been,
the
we already,
whole podcast.
we already talked about it.
Why
Because
are we
what if
being all
somebody
serious
what
here?
if somebody turns it on to this moment? And it was a serious moment.
Yeah, it
I
was.
felt it deserved the 3 camera look.
It was really good. They did it really well. Like I said, the moment when he stood there and I think that Han Solo really believed him for a minute when when Kylo Ren looked at him and said, "Can you help me with something?"
I think Chewie
And I
believed
think
him.
he actually thought that it was going to be.
I think
I
Kylo
think-
might have thought
okay.
it as well.
I want to talk about cinematography on this for a second.
Go for it.
Because here's what they did in that scene. Like, you notice it was like the lights shining on him from the spotlight from where Ren and Finn opened up at the top. It's the father and son reconnecting, and it's like, will you help me? He has his hand open with the lightsaber.
I know what you're going with
But
this. I know
once
where
the
you're going
sun
with this.
went out, it went dark on him. The dark side. He closes the lightsaber and is fighting it now all of a sudden because the light's gone.
And Han could see it because you saw Harrison Ford's face go from
Yeah.
to like a minor terror. He was like,
Yeah.
"Oh no!" And then, boom!
Yeah, which is again why the acting is so good, and also again when Han, even when he realized that, he didn't try to turn and run away or do anything. He still was waiting and hoping that it would turn out okay,
Agreed.
even when he wasn't sure. Really quickly though, anyone, all the people online who were talking about the lightsaber with the 2 hilts on the end of it being real dumb, it was great. Does anyone like
I
disagree?
mean, we
I
saw
think
when
it
he was
really
when he
cool.
was holding
JP
it against.
Really like
What?
He didn't like the.
I think it was really-
he
I
said
think
he
in
liked it at
practice
first,
it looked
but
really cool.
I think when everyone's like, oh,
When
maybe
they're
it'll be like a
fighting in the
saber
woods.
card.
Oh, it's so cool.
And I saw a thing that was like, I don't know if it's actually true from like one of the extended books now that's from supposed to be part of canon, where it said the reason that is because he built it himself. It's using a crystal that's not. It's like has a crack in the crystal,
Which would
Which-
explain the jagged blade and
It
everything.
explains the blade,
It's really cool.
and it also explains what those side things are. They're not guards. They're exhaust ports because they can't contain it all
That's
going
actually
one
really
way.
cool too.
I did love though how he used it to his advantage when fighting Finn
Yeah.
specifically, and I love how none of us have really covered Finn at all throughout this entire
Okay.
thing.
Oh.
We haven't talked
I
about
just-
Finn.
Let's back it up. Let's talk about Finn.
Okay, yeah, I enjoy Finn. Finn was great. I think the reason we maybe hadn't talked about Finn as much is because he was great, but out of I think
Out of
personally for me,
everyone,
out of the four
He was the weakest.
major characters, yeah, he was still really good.
He-
But I think
yeah.
I think Rey and Poe and even Harrison Ford all kind of felt more interesting
Star
to me.
Wars.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Whereas he was interesting to me, and he was
And
Yeah.
Ren.
yeah,
and
Ren,
I
for
give
sure.
kudos to John Boyega. He
Yeah,
played
for
the
sure.
part
He played it
beautifully.
great.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
You'll
especially
know that scene. You'll know like what the first order does. We should all be running for them. I love that scene right there.
Oh yeah, it was really good.
although that was in Ma's, watering hole, whatever
The
you want to call
cantina.
it, the cantina.
Yeah, the
Cantina.
new cantina.
No, instead this was like the reggae one.
Yeah,
Oh,
the-
daddy. Well, I mean, we're all wearing beanies, so
it was fun.
works.
Yeah.
But no, when he's going, I hear you can get me to the outer rim. Like he just
Yeah,
now
he's just
opens the
leaning in. He's
conversation,
like, "Oh, I'm from the
and then
streets, I got it."
and then she comes over and she's like, "What are you doing? Don't leave without me." As if they agreed or even
Yeah,
said, "Yes,
exactly.
we can take
like
you."
he was like, I've got this guy. I know. We chill.
We
He's my
chill.
bro, my homie.
But no, he did a great job with the acting on that.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I think that all the acting was really good.
They picked all the right actors.
Yeah, I enjoyed Maz. Lupita Nyong'o was really cool too.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I feel like they're hinting towards it with something I don't want. I hope there's not going to be some romantic thing between Finn and
Oh,
Rey.
there is.
I don't see that's the thing. I don't think there is. I think
There
that
will be.
the point is that he wants there to be, and
They,
it's kind
they
of
will kiss.
it's a cute
They
trope.
will kiss at least
Yeah,
once.
I mean, but I think the cute trope of this one is, which again has been done before, is she's not that into you. Is that what they're doing in this one? Which again,
I think she's
is
just more
weird because we've
blissfully
never seen-
ignorant. I
we've
think
never
she's
seen it.
blissfully ignorant.
No, I think she understands that
Well,
he's
at
into.
least,
But I think
at least not brother and sister.
yeah, that's true. It's better than that.
Oh.
I don't think we've ever seen in Star Wars though that she's not that into you. So I guess it's new
Yeah.
enough.
Well,
but we've seen it in
Padme
plenty of
and
other
Anakin in
movies.
the beginning,
Yeah.
it pretty much was like, well, calm down, boy, just calm down.
Yeah, because he was 10 and it was weird.
But once he turned 18.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, it's totally okay now.
Okay, so I think we should sum it up right now. We just covered our thoughts on the actors.
Yeah.
Let's do closing remarks regarding Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
I want to just mention one more thing about cinematography on it.
Mm-hmm.
That first flight of the Falcon when Rey and Finn had it,
Oh yeah.
I love what they did there with the way the camera angles and
The
everything.
camera, it was beautiful.
I
I loved it.
the way she was kind of like trying to figure out and he was figuring out, and that scene at the end when they went through the destroyer and she cut the engine so it could flip and he
Yeah,
can
that
get
was
that
really cool.
firing shot.
Yeah. The
That was great.
the new Death Star run was really cool. They
The
had,
new
they
Death
had
Star
yeah
run.
the,
The
new,
new
the new
Death
Death Star run.
The new Death Star.
Exactly.
The
And
new Death Star.
I can't believe we've gone this long without mentioning that John Williams is the greatest composer of all time. But I think everyone already knew that.
Okay,
so
I want
it's-
to point out something now.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wasn't as impressed this time.
It's not. Yeah, because I don't think there was an original piece in that I was humming as I walked out. The thing that I was stuck with was the motifs that were from the original trilogy, like
Which
the.
I saw an interview with John
the
Williams.
main one.
He said it's like, except for a few obligations I had to throw in, the callbacks,
It was mostly.
it was mostly original. He loved it. My only problem was the lightsaber fight music was not iconic enough. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I think there was not the thing is there wasn't an original piece that was as good. I think the parts that I enjoyed were mostly the ones that were from the original stuff. But hopefully there's going to be some better stuff in the next ones. But I do still love it. It was still really good.
I can't believe we didn't touch on one of the best actors in my opinion. Maybe not the best, but he was up there. How do you pronounce this?
Domhnall Gleeson,
Dom-
he played.
I
General
looked
Hux.
that up and I saw
General
that
Hux, yeah.
I think he did a good job. I just don't feel like he was in the movie as much.
But
Okay.
did anybody notice they ripped off Killzone though?
What
Let's
is
think about it.
Killzone?
In the scene when they're firing the Star Killer weapon, okay, and he says, "For the First Order," and then they all raise their arm. That is
No, yeah,
that is
no,
so Killzone.
It was okay. The original Star Wars was influenced heavily by Hitler's Germany.
Yeah, for sure.
But-
now they're real space Nazis.
Now now they stepped it up to like
Just like it's definitely like for sure.
just that entire like scene with him.
Yeah,
in
because
front
they're all
of-
standing and there's banners that have the red on them, and it's kind of like all right.
It's partially Hitler's Germany. It's partially Stalin's Russia.
Red Russia for sure.
Red
But no, I
Russia.
was just gonna say
Red
the
Russia,
other
Red
the
Russia.
other actor that we
Sense
haven't
of
talked
Russia.
about probably just because they were barely in it. But I just have to mention Gwendolyn Christie, who I loved.
They're building up.
But
for her.
I love Gwendolyn Christie so much, and she had like 2 lines. And she never took her mask off, and it was she'd like once.
Well, she's dead now.
No, we don't know. They could
No,
have her.
I
I
really
know
don't
she's
think
not
she is,
dead,
because
but that was a great
I want her to
scene.
be, but I was just so surprised that she was barely in it because, again, in like the marketing lead up to the movie, in anything I've seen, it seemed like she was going to be.
That poster I have, she's like
Yeah, exactly.
right in the front.
I assumed she was going to be one of the major villains of the movie, like the secondary villain only to Kylo Ren. So I was surprised. Other actors that I think we should really quickly mention,
Peter Mayhew.
possibly Daniel Craig, maybe. Did you guys hear
I
about
heard
that?
about that.
There's a
Wait,
rumor.
what?
In my,
So
the guy that dropped his blaster is supposedly Daniel Craig.
The Sheep Jedi
No.
Mind Trick. No one has confirmed it, and even Daniel Craig himself has like denied. But there have been reports that Daniel Craig was that stormtrooper. I think that's hilarious if it is. If not, whatever. And then the one that I read today, which I really love, Frank Oz, Ian McGregor, both came in to do.
And Alec
And then
Guinness.
Alec Guinness, who
They redid the voice a little bit, so he said
yeah,
Ray.
they got some.
That was
Some
great.
stuff to
I
get in
read
to
that
get,
article. That was
yeah,
brilliantly done.
I think it's amazing that they.
I
can
forget
pay
what the word
tribute.
was that they did, but they took it out of the middle of a word
was
and
afraid.
just kind of stretched.
Afraid.
Yeah,
Afraid.
and then they took out Ray out of it.
Ray.
And they kind of like combined his voice with Ian McGregor, and they
Yeah.
got Frank Oz to do some new stuff, and I just think it's great.
But I heard they didn't even use the Frank Oz new stuff. They just
Yeah, it was
stole
just,
some
it
old
was
little
just,
stuff
it was
instead.
just, it was
Oh.
just the
But
first
he did
two.
record new stuff.
Yeah, nude stuff. I mean, hopefully not, but anyway,
New stuff.
new stuff. Okay.
Ladies, ignore that.
No goodness. Yeah, so I
We're
think
not going
that's,
to talk about naked Yoda.
no, I would
Oh.
hope not. I mean,
No,
goodness.
no, goodness.
Yoda's great though, but not no goodness. Now I feel weird. So yeah, no, I think that's the end of the actors that we have to talk about, right? I think that's
I
most of
think
the
that's
main
it.
ones.
And we're at like 46 minutes, so we should.
So yeah, wrap up really quick.
Oh my gosh, it was Daniel Craig.
It's rumored. No one knows for sure.
Uncredited, we don't know for sure.
It's a rumor.
I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah.
I'm going
I mean,
to,
I would like.
I'm
I'm
ending
going
satisfied.
We are confirming here on this podcast. It was Daniel Craig. I know him personally.
Remember, we are unqualified.
We are definitely unqualified for this.
We are unqualified ramblings.
Possibly. No one knows what this podcast is called. You'll figure it out. Possibly.
So you'll figure it out. That
They,
sounds
they got James Bond to play this
We'll
gun.
figure it out. Is that the title of our podcast?
We'll figure it out. I like it.
We've just decided.
That's the
Congratulations.
name.
You were here to witness.
Welcome to the first episode of We'll Figure It Out.
And welcome to the end of the first episode of We'll Figure It Out. Blake, what are your final thoughts on this movie?
And how
My-
did you rate it out of 10?
My final thoughts on this movie. I felt it was an absolutely phenomenal movie made by a Star Wars fan for Star Wars fans to keep Star Wars going. And it was just everything about it was beautifully well done. I loved the score because it still felt, it was Star Wars, but without trying to mix it up too much. I think in the next movie we're going to hear more of a new score. This
I would
was
hope so,
more
yeah.
of the let's transition from the old to the new. And I think that was really solidified with the death of Han Solo. Okay, here's your old characters. We have to slowly just make this about the new guys now. And I think they're going to solidify that with a new score, focusing more on the new characters, etc., etc. Overall, film was great. I think there were a few plot holes that newer viewers, maybe newer Star Wars fans, maybe younger Star Wars fans are going to miss. I've been a fan since I was like 2, so I picked up on a lot of it. So I can see where it might be lackluster to some people. As I said earlier on my Facebook account, I can understand some places playing devil's advocate. From a Star Wars fan's perspective, I give it a solid 9 or 9.5. From a critic's standpoint, I'm going to say 8 or 8.5.
I don't know. It's got like a 95 on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Well, Rotten Tomatoes, I'm not you, and you're not.
You're not a Rotten Tomato?
I'm a good tomato.
Travis, what do you think?
9.3. There's a few moments in there where I think characters could have been a little better. Like,
Yeah, I think most people agree with you there. She just didn't do a lot. But I think she didn't, again,
She was too
I don't
calm.
know that she wanted to do a lot. I feel like Han Solo, Harrison Ford, I think it felt like he wanted to do it. He wanted to be like, this is my last one, I'm going to make
But
it good.
I don't.
I mean, yeah, it's weird. It's
What-
almost like you didn't, what are you doing? We're
Okay.
almost done. Oh my goodness.
But when she was in there, she could have she could have had more fire in the way
Yeah,
she
for
spoke.
sure.
I think that's the best thing I can say. She didn't have any
But
fire
again,
in the
I
way
haven't
she spoke.
seen her recently. Have you seen anything Carrie Fisher's done?
She hasn't done anything.
Yeah,
recently.
that might be why. Maybe she's a little out of it
She's
and
put
she's
on
not
some
sure how
weight.
to act.
She
some
dropped the
things.
weight.
Oh,
A
she
little
dropped
bit.
most of it.
My goodness.
She didn't
Why
drop the
are you-
smoker
Why are you
voice.
being so rude to
She
Carrie
sound-
Fisher?
she sound-
Carrie Fisher, if you're watching this, I apologize.
I apologize.
I apologize for
I
our
enjoy
friend
your
here.
earlier work. I agree with.
I
most
loved
of
your
these
work
guys.
as well, And
I loved your work in Star Wars, and I'm guessing other movies, probably,
if
right?
you've done
Were there other movies?
If
She
you've
was
done
in
anything.
Smallville
Oh,
for like one episode.
yeah,
we
that,
loved your uncredited work in Smallville. If you were
Yeah,
credited, we didn't notice.
that counts. Okay, Travis, continue.
Yeah, overall, very good, amazing. What every Star Wars fan is gonna love, and everyone's had to remember it's part of a larger story. Yes,
Exactly.
they missed a lot of points, but
Exactly.
every story has a beginning. They have to set a lot of stuff up for that next act in the trilogy.
Which
Yeah.
is why I said
'Cause
from a Star Wars fan standpoint, I give it a 9.5.
It's not a movie. It's just Act One.
Yeah, I love
Act 1.
Yeah,
I like
love
that.
Star Wars. I'm a huge fan, and as a Star Wars fan, like you said, I think that anyone I've talked to who had loved the original trilogies, I think I've not yet talked to a person who didn't really love this movie. The only complaints that I have, which are small things, and I'm okay with, it's not even a complaint, it's just a thing that I noticed, which are what everyone's pointing out, which is a lot of it is taken, almost all of it is taken from the original trilogy and slightly twisted in some way, which I'm hoping that they change in the later ones, but I'm okay with this one existing like that. All the setups are there, and so again, I'm hoping that the next movie can be better with more Mark Hamill in it instead of just the 1 second, which is good.
I'm fairly sure they will.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of scared
I hope
they're
that
gonna.
the beginning of the movie is just Mark Hamill turned this way like this, and then just being like, "Well, hello there," and just like his voice, like, "What?"
Well, hello.
Yeah, just do the
there,
Joker. Exactly.
Batman.
That was my worst Joker voice I've ever done. Can I just say? I was trying to do the Joker voice, and it was awful.
No,
It's
no,
good to see you, Batman. How have you
No,
been?
you know what? But he's like turned away. He's not looking at Ray.
Oh,
and then you just
boy.
hear the Joker laugh, and
Yeah, exactly. That would actually be. Yeah, exactly. That would have been a worse ending, I guess.
You know what would have been really bad? The hood comes off. It's Mickey.
Oh no.
okay. So I'm just gonna say a really
Oh,
bad
boy.
joke here
Yeah, go ahead.
because you said so much was taken from the.
They should get Liam Neeson back in here. Is that what you're saying?
Take it.
Yes,
Liam
I
Neeson
am.
was only. I mean, the Force Ghost. come
Ghost
on.
Qui-Gon.
Force
Yeah,
Ghost.
I
we
would
should-
love that.
Okay, so come on. Why is Qui-Gon never? He was in for like the first movie, and it was.
He was supposed to be in the third one.
Liam
but he was-
Neeson.
part.
I'm
Liam Neeson
talking to
was
you.
busy.
I'm
No,
talking
don't
to
get
you.
too close to the camera.
Okay.
Don't scare Liam Neeson. He's getting old now. He might be a little
I don't
afraid.
care
He's had everything
how
taken from him
popular
already.
you are.
He
If
fought
you're not in
wolves.
Star Wars,
He
I will
fought
come to
wolves
your
and
house.
won.
I will find you, and I will sign the contract for you.
You have a very particular set of skills, and those skills include contract negotiations. Is that
Exactly.
what it is?
No, it's called forgery.
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 Is that another movie with Liam Neeson? It might be. Forgery. Someone double check that later.
Some simple
Basically,
one-word
I
movie.
like this movie. It was very good. Small complaints, most of it minor, and the things that I love about the movie are there, and I love it. I guess, as we said, the acting is great. Most of the characters are good. I wanted more Poe, and I wanted more Luke. Everyone's
Yes.
saying they saved it for the next movie, and I'm okay with that, but I just kind of wish that they would have done, and same thing with the flashbacks. I kind of wish there was a little bit more development of Kylo Ren character and why he did this instead of just the little, we got conversation hints, which is, again, a good, smart way to
Agreed.
do it.
Yes.
But so here's the thing that my suggestion would be then. So if they could get Harrison Ford to agree to do the beginning, not now, obviously they can't now, he's dead. But if they could have get him to agree to do the beginning, a beginning sequence in the second movie, episode 8, then they could have had a little bit more time to flesh out Kylo Ren before this moment, because that's all I needed is before the
Yeah.
moment where he kills Harrison
Understand.
Ford. If they just have a little bit more time to flesh out Kylo Ren, it would have been a little bit better. Now we're going to get the fleshing out of his character, and then when we look back, it's going to be even more emotional.
Well, if you think about it,
So
that's
it's-
very similar to Darth Vader.
Yeah, he,
In Episode 4, or,
You didn't really
Star
know
Wars
much about
1,
him.
yeah,
we didn't know really anything
Yeah,
about
exactly.
it until
there was nothing about
the
mentions
end
yeah.
of Episode 5.
Yeah, and then it gets more interesting after that. So I think that
Ah.
they're following a similar path, and I'm okay with that existing. I do. I think 8.5 just because I think the next movie will be better, and I kind of wish that this movie was a little bit.
You just love the number 85.
I do know the number 85, but I also think that those little moments could have still been there. I think there was
Yeah,
some room.
I agree.
We didn't talk about it at all. I don't know. How did you guys feel about the weird tentacle monsters? Did anyone?
I
was anyone-
loved it.
Were
I
you?
loved
It
Did you
reminded me
love
of Prometheus.
It did remind exactly. Was that good or bad?
No, I loved it because you're just thinking,
I'm okay
Han,
with it,
you're
but I'm just-
where you're watching the master swindling at
Yeah.
work.
No, I love that. I love. The
And
scene
then
of
you
him
just
talking-
see
and then the thing
boom.
break out. I don't think that we needed them running from tentacle monsters in the middle of it. I think that part could have been taken out and replaced with more time
I just
to flesh
love the
out some
fact that one of
characters.
them latches onto the windscreen of the Falcon.
I mean, yeah, it was
that-
funny. It
that
was
was
like, and they
great.
went to light speed. I think that whole sequence.
Can you do that? I don't ask that question until after I've done it.
Exactly. That's what it's like. Never tell me the odds. That was a good moment.
That's
There's-
that's.
But
my
they could have
theory.
put those in other parts as well. So I think that moment could have been taken out and had a little bit more time to flesh out. I'm guessing Kylo Ren, that would be my favorite, or Poe. But I mean, Poe, I think they can have time to flesh out later. They don't need to do that now. Kylo Ren, I think, should have been fleshed out a tiny bit more before the big moment where he kills his father.
That said,
Indeed.
we are nearing 55 minutes.
Which
That's
is
about-
I'm
that's
not even sure if this thing's still recording.
That's-
It might be.
That's
I don't know.
25 minutes past what we intended. If the video cut out on this, I apologize. We only had an hour's worth of recording.
Well, if the video cut out, then you'll just be listening to audio, so
Oh,
we won't know
okay.
about it.
If the video cuts out, then
This is
I'll
not the
still
video.
stick it up there. I'll just have some empty stuff. I'll put pictures of my cats up. I
Pictures
don't know.
of cats. And just,
Oh, you know what
this
we
is
could
not
do?
the video you're
We could
looking
have
for.
Trey make us like little animated figures of ourselves.
Who's
I could
that?
do
Let's-
that.
He's the major.
We can argue about this.
Let's talk about his the effects in his film from last year. And
No,
then-
let's not.
We can talk
actually.
about this off mic.
We'll move on off mic. Agreed.
Welcome to the end. Why am I saying welcome again? I mean,
Thank
goodbye.
you.
Goodbye to
And-
the end.
For joining us on our first episode of We'll Figure It Out, because that's what.
And
That's
I want to say to everything you said.
Yeah.
So say we all.
So say we all.
So say
And
we all.
Have a great day, everyone.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And may the force be with you.
May
Liam
the
Neeson,
Force-
you better.
We will find you,
We will.
and you will join this
And
movie.
Carrie Fisher, I apologize.
Yeah, I also apologize, but I mean, come on, do a little bit more next time. Just put in a little more effort.
Well,
and
I
then
mean,
we'll be happier.
Grab a lightsaber.
gra-
Strike down your son for killing your husband.
or you know, you could just keep
That's
doing
true.
what
That
you're
would be
doing.
kind of interesting if
Who
she
are
got,
we?
was
We're
riled up and
unprofessional.
actually got more. I think she'll get more emotional if she's in the next one because she has to be, right?
Agreed.
Okay.
With that said, thank you all for tuning in, and if you listened all the way through, you're obviously our favorite listeners.
And
Thank you very much.
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Goodbye.